What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Electrified Reviews. My name's Tyson, and today I'm going to be showing you the Heybike Ranger S. Let you get a quick look at the bike here. Fat tire, folding electric bike that's pretty kitted out with accessories, integrated lights. We've got the rack on it, nice approachable frame. It's got cast alloy tires here, or excuse me, cast alloy wheels instead of spokes. Kind of an interesting design choice. We'll jump into that when we get a closer look at it. But just to tell you a little bit more about Heybike, I've been familiar with this brand for quite a while, but I actually didn't ride one until a few months ago when I was at an electric bike expo in Denver, where I got to test ride a few of their models. I really liked them then, especially the Heybike Tyson for obvious reasons. It was also just a really, really solid folding fat tire bike. That one was not a step through. So anyway, I got the Ranger a couple weeks ago and I was really excited to try it out, and it ended up being a little bit disappointing at first because I had to do quite a bit of work just to, get it ready to ride. I ended up having to get a new display because the one I got was scratched, and then I was not able to get the electric assist to work at first, so I had to go back and forth with Heybike support, and we had figured out that there was this problem with the brake activation cables and had to fix those, and we were able to get it fixed. Everything's good, it's riding great now. But this is, I guess, maybe just something to consider if you're thinking about getting any electric bike. If you order it online, you got to assemble it yourself. If there's any, issues during assembly, you kind of have to work through those on yourself or pay a shop to do it. So get into a dealer if you can. That's the best way to buy one. And Heybike does have some dealers available in the US, so hopefully you can test ride one, see if it's a good fit for you. Anyways, let's jump in and talk about the Ranger S here. It comes with a pretty standard warranty of 1 year, covers any manufacturer defects. That's kind of the standard in the industry now, so nothing special there. It is a very value-priced electric bike. It's coming in at $14.99 and pretty decently loaded out with features. Let's just kind of dive in and walk through all the components. There's some parts of it that I guess to me are kind of questionable design decisions. I've just had trouble figuring out who this bike is a good fit for exactly. So it is a folding fat tire bike, right? So the frame can fold in half right here, and then the stem can fold down here, which helps it take up less space when storing it. But this is not a bike that you could fold and carry onto the subway, for example. It's still too big and bulky. It doesn't latch or lock closed when it's folded, so it's more of a storage feature. Speaking of weight, it actually comes in at like 74 pounds, which is pretty hefty for a folding bike, for a bike that's this small. And a lot of the reason for that weight is that we have these cast alloy rims here. These just, they're very sturdy, very strong. They're especially good if you're traveling at high speed. I typically will see these type of rims on like mini bikes and stuff that are made to be going, 30, 40 miles per hour. But this is not, this is a folding bike. And I wouldn't want to take it that fast, because when you have a folding frame like this, especially a step-through folding frame and the folding stem, you get a lot of frame flex and just it doesn't feel super stable. I was able to get up to about 25 miles per hour on it, and I probably wouldn't want to go faster than that. And so I would probably put spokes on here if that was me, just to keep it a little bit more lightweight. We've got the Chaoyang tires on here, 20 by 4 inch, nice wide, big air volume. Those provide quite a bit of cushion just by themselves, and you can actually lower them down as far as 5 psi. So if you wanted to ride on sand or snow or some really soft terrain like that, you can totally do that in these tires. Just remember that will eat into your range. They do have reflective stripes on the sidewall, which helps out with side visibility, but there's no puncture protection in these tires. I would definitely recommend adding some. Changing fat tires is just not a fun time. They're big and heavy to deal with, especially with those cast alloy rims. You have to pump them a lot with a hand pump. So put in some slime or maybe Tannis armor inserts. Those are super awesome. Something that adds more weight as well, but also, is totally worth it, is the suspension fork up here. You get about 80 millimeters of travel. This is a standard coil suspension fork, so you can adjust the preload and the compression on it. And that adds quite a bit of cushion. So this is really a reasonably comfortable feeling electric bike. Really the only thing that I would change from a comfort standpoint here is actually the saddle. And if you look at it, it's pretty, pretty big, pretty wide, and it looks like it'd be comfy, but it's really not. I was actually surprised by how uncomfortable it is. And maybe it's just because it needs to get broken in more, but it's too stiff, and so it feels like you're sitting on two hard bumps on the side here. So like I said, with some break-in, that might get a lot more comfortable. And either way, a saddle is very cheap and very easy to replace, and a lot of people want to get their own anyways, find something that fits them well. Let's round out the rest of the bicycle components here. We've got hydraulic disc brakes from RSX. These are 180 millimeter rotors on both the front and the rear with motor inhibitors. So these are good solid brakes. Definitely what you'd want to see on a bike that weighs this much, so that you can, you know, bring it to a stop. They work great. No complaints there. As far as the pedaling side of things go, the drivetrain, this is a very basic Shimano tourney setup. If you're not familiar with Shimano derailleurs, tourney is like their entry level, kind of the lowest tier of them. They're still good quality, but you don't get the performance and efficiency you do from some of their higher grade sets. But this still does, you know, gets the job done, especially with an electric bike that has a lot of power, 750 watts in the rear motor there. There's a derailleur cage here that helps to keep it from getting damaged, and also helps to, you know, keep it from getting knocked out of tune in shipping. Didn't work for mine, unfortunately. That was another thing I had to do with this bike, was I had to tune the derailleur before I could ride it, because it was just totally off kilter, and had to, you know, adjust the brakes too. This can happen with pretty much any electric bike. Some of them are, you know, ready to roll right out of the box, and some of them you have to do a lot of tuning. So just keep that in mind. I appreciate having the double-sided plastic bash guard on here. It helps to keep the chain from derailing, and also just keep your pant legs and other debris from getting tangled up in the chain. We've got fairly standard folding pedals here, a nice sturdy rear rack that is bolted directly onto the frame, which helps to make it a bit more stable. You can put about 55 pounds of weight on here, nice and wide, so that's definitely a good touch. We've got full coverage fenders on the front and the rear, and these are really nice. They're plastic fenders, very wide, great coverage. Plastic fenders, they are a bit more resilient than alloy or steel. You know, they don't like dent and scratch the same way that those metal ones might. They're a bit more lightweight. They can rattle sometimes, but I haven't heard that at all on these. So, you know, good job to Heybike for mounting those well. So let's talk about electronics. Now, this is a 750 watt motor here. It is in the rear hub, completely encased inside the center there. And I had asked Heybike about, you know, like who manufactures the motor, who manufactures their battery cells, and they just came back and said that, oh, Heybike makes them. So I don't know what's in there. It's hard to say. You know, they probably have their own factory for motors, but as far as like who they're getting their battery cells from, I can't say for sure. Now, it's pretty zippy, and it comes with stickers for both class 2 and class 3 operation. I've got one on, there it is. So you can see that it came set up here with the class 2 sticker on it, but then in the box there's a different sticker for class 3 if you want to put that on there, because it can be set to limit to 20 miles per hour, which would make it a class 2, or you can increase the limit to 28 miles per hour to make it a class 3. Now, I've been riding it in that configuration most of the time, and I haven't actually been able to get up to 28 miles per hour. Like about 26 seems like about the maximum when you're pedaling. You can hit about 21 miles per hour using the throttle only. So it's kind of in that gray area between class 2 and class 3. While acceleration is fairly brisk off the line, it's definitely geared more for the lower speeds. It doesn't really have a lot of speed and power once you get up to, into the mid 20 mile per hour range. Let's look at the battery now. And this is one of the parts of the bike where there's a little bit of room for design improvement, I think. It is mounted in the single down tube here. It's a good mounting spot for it. It keeps the center of gravity low, which is awesome. Now, the charging port, when you want to charge the battery on the bike, is right down here, and this is not a good place to put it down low because the pedals swing really close to that, and so if you have to move the bike around while you're charging it, and then this can get tangled up, you could damage your charging port. Now, just be careful of that if you're charging it on the bike. And this port is a little bit janky. I mean, there's this screw and washer here holding it in, so it's just kind of screwed right into the frame. And this thing is also really finicky to work with. If you're trying to, push it back in here to get it to seal, it's actually quite difficult. It's always taken me a few minutes every time that I've done this. Okay, there we go. And then when we remove the battery, let me grab the keys so we can do that. You put the key in right here. It's got a 2-stage mechanism where you have to turn it to unlock it, and then it'll kind of kick out right here so that you can pop it out. And so when you pop it out, remember the plug I was talking about earlier? It's just sticking into the battery compartment right here. And so if you if you're not paying attention and you just put the battery back in, it's actually pinching this to the side. You can kind of see it sticking out right there, and if you do that enough, it'll actually break that off so you can't even seal it shut. So when you're putting the battery back in, you have to remember to get this out of the way first, put the battery in, and then you can put this in. So like I was saying, it's not a very elegant design. There's probably some room for improvement there, and I think moving the charging port up high on the frame would probably help to alleviate some of that. But anyways, here is the battery. Weighs, feels like about 10 pounds. I didn't actually weigh it separately. But you are looking at 48 volts, 15 amp hours, 720 watt hours of capacity. So that's decent capacity. That's kind of middle of the road now. And when you're moving the bike, especially like if you're putting it on a bike rack behind your car, definitely take this off first, save some weight, and just protect the battery. They don't like to be left out in extreme hot and cold, anything like that. One more gotcha for the battery is that there's a little power switch on the bottom right here. If that's switched off, the bike won't work at all. So that might be something to check. It's probably gonna be switched off when you first get it. Let's get this put back in here. And you just turn the key all the way back, pop it out, and it is nice and secure in the down tube there. Get this bad boy in again. Moving up to the cockpit to talk about the rest of the electronics. Now, this bike actually is pretty well loaded out as far as the lights and signaling goes. We'll hold down the power button right here to fire up the display. This is a grayscale display. I love these displays because they work great. They're visible in pretty much any lighting conditions, super easy to see, has all the information that you need. You can press the power button again to cycle through different displays. You can see I've done 27 miles so far on this bike. Let's see what else. I'm not sure what the rest of these readouts are. I'm just gonna bring it back down to the odometer. It remembers what pedal assist setting you had it in before. And then over here on this side, you can control your lights, turn signals, and there's even a horn. Nice little buzzer there. So if you flick this on to turn the lights on, and they're pretty bright. I honestly really like the lights that Heybike has set up on all of their bikes now. I think they all use these same ones. Pretty easy to see even in daylight like we are now, although we are standing in shade. And then let's see, there's turn signals, so we can flick that on so you can see, and the turn signal is actually on the front and the rear, which is a nice touch. And I believe we do also have brake light activation. Boop, boop. Yep, and actually when you hold down the brakes, it flashes as long as you've got the brake lever depressed, which is a great safety feature. Like honestly, as far as like lighting safety goes, they are, you know, above and beyond with this with the Ranger S. So kudos there for sure. The lights do have a kind of confusing auto mode. So if we turn this light switch off and then press the auto button right here, that puts the lights into automatic mode. And they, when it's in automatic mode, this Heybike in the center is always lit up, I think just for some more visibility. Then there's a light sensor on the back right here. So if you cover up this light sensor so it'll think that it's dark, then your lights will kick on. Well, and now it just kicked off. Like I was saying, the auto mode is kind of a little bit unpredictable. Let's see. Cover it up, there we go. So cover up that sensor and the automatic lights kick in. But the sensor is a little bit too responsive, I guess I would say. It doesn't have to be very, like, just being in shadow and it will often kick on, which is better, I guess, to have them turn on more aggressively than you need. But just be careful with that setting, because what's strange about it is if you turn the bike off, completely off, but the lights are still on auto mode, then they can still turn on. So let me cover up the sensor here again, and then boom, the lights will turn on. So make sure you disable auto mode when, you know, if you have the bike just parked and turned off, you know, in your garage or something like that. As soon as you turn that light off, your automatic lights are going to kick in and you're going to come back to a dead battery. So just be careful about that. Now, the Ranger S can fit a fairly wide range of riders. I am a little bit on the big end. Now, keep in mind I'm 6'3", so this is a little bit smaller than I would prefer, but I also just don't really like riding folding bikes in general due to my size. But the seat post is very long. I don't think I even have it at the highest setting. I guess I do have it pretty close. So you can, you know, get the saddle way up here, or, you know, all the way down here. So just about anyone will be able to sit on it. And then up front on the stem, you can adjust this as well. Just pop this back and you can raise or lower this but not actually all that far. Like it can go farther than this, but as you can see from the cables here, they're getting stretched really tight, and then when I'm turning, that is going to put even more stress on them. So realistically, probably about here is kind of the highest you can get it without risking damaging your cables. And you know, if this was my bike, I'd probably spend some time trying to improve the cable management down here, maybe run things through the fork. I'm not sure. I had trouble when I was setting it up, just trying to figure out where to put the cables, and I couldn't get it looking very nice. You know, it's kind of messy. But that's kind of what happens when you have folding bikes that have adjustable stems, is you have to have a lot of extra cabling, and you know, this thing keeps popping out of the frame. I've put this back in like 5 times. So a little bit of room for improvement in the cable management area, but it still performs fine. That's really more of an aesthetics thing. Here is a look at the Ranger S all folded up. It does balance fairly well, always a perk. And it's, you know, but it still takes up a decent amount of space, and, you know, it still weighs 74 pounds. So this is great for just storage purposes. You know, maybe you have a small garage or apartment to store it in, or you want to put it on your RV. This helps to take up a lot less space, but it's still kind of unwieldy. So like I said before, this is not something that you would fold up and maybe carry on the bus or subway with you. All right, we're going to take it for a spin. Now I've got the display powered on here. I've got it in pedal assist level 0, because I just want to ride it like a bike at first, and you know, talk about that experience. And this is, you know, this is like if you ran out of battery on it and you just had to pedal it home by itself. How is that gonna feel? So let's see. I'm in gear 7, which is not ideal. So let's use that thumb shifter and shift it down. About 3, that feels pretty good. Get back over to the road here. Go another gear or 2 or easier. Can definitely hear the derailleur clicking a little bit back there in first gear. I did some tuning and adjusting to it, but it sounds like I didn't quite get it lined up right. This bike's a pretty good workout to ride with no electric assistance. Now I am going up a very slight hill here, riding with the motor completely off, but like I'm already, you know, about a minute in and I'm already starting to huff and puff. So it'd not be a fun bike to pedal around without having the electric assist. Now, okay, so let's fire that up. Now I put it into level 1 and I don't feel or hear the motor yet. And that's just from how the electronics are configured here. So let's talk about that on the Ranger. The pedal assist level and the throttle are linked. So if you're in pedal assist level 1, you're only gonna get a little bit of an assist up to around like 7 miles per hour. And then same thing for the throttle. If I slow way down here, you know, just a few miles per hour and then hit the throttle, kicks in, but then, you know, right about 7-8 miles per hour, that's as much as I get. And if I pedal, same thing. As soon as I push past that to get to 9 miles per hour, no electric assist. That's just from being in assist level 1, and so I can, you know, bump it up to level 2. Let's do that. And now we get pedal assist up to, you know, and throttle up to like 14-15 miles per hour. And then it just keeps on increasing after that. You hit level 3 up through level 5 to get to the highest one, and then you get a very peppy throttle, lots of pedal assist all the way up to the max speed. So just be in mind, if you've ridden other electric bikes, some of them are configured differently where you have full power throttle override regardless of the assist level. That's actually the setting I prefer, because it's kind of a safety thing. It lets you accelerate quickly out of the way of danger by using the throttle without having to take the time to look down and press buttons to increase your pedal assist level. Not how it works on here though, which is okay, just be aware of that. Now if you don't like how it's set up, maybe you want less pedal assist levels, or you want to change how responsive the pedal assist is, how much power you get, you can actually do that. Heybike has an app that pairs with the display over Bluetooth, and you can customize all kinds of stuff for the bike. The units between imperial and metric, you can change the top speed, how many pedal assist levels there are, how responsive it is. It's actually a really well done app. I'm impressed, and it was easier to navigate than a lot of e-bike or e-scooter apps that I've used in the past. So another win there for sure. I'm going to bump up to level 3. We'll just get it kind of in the middle here. And I want to show off the pedal assist system. Now it is it's some kind of a like combination torque and cadence sensor. It's surprisingly responsive. It kicks in almost right away when you're at lower speeds, and can almost feel a little bit jarring actually if you have it up in level 5. But just to show you the responsiveness of it, I'm just gonna, you know, pedal and stop pedaling a few times so that you can hear the motor kick in and see that delay. Slow down and stop again. So when I'm coming off of a very low speed start, it kicks in almost instantly. But then if I have some speed going and I start to pedal, it's a very smooth ramp up. It's actually quite nice. There it goes. So it's definitely a more advanced sensor and configuration here. And I really like that smooth ramp up of power when you're already traveling at a decent speed. Because it's nice and relaxed. It doesn't jolt you all of a sudden, and it encourages better rider fitness, I guess, because you got to do some pedaling and then it'll kick in and help you. But then when you slow down to a low speed, it kicks in right away, which you probably need help, you know, getting started off of a stoplight or something like that. So it's a very well dialed in pedal assist system. I'm pretty impressed. All right, we're going to see what kind of speed we can get up to. I've got it in level 5 now, which is the highest setting. And we're going to do a throttle only test here first. So we'll just hit the throttle and take off. And there we are at 20 miles per hour. And we're topping out on the throttle at, you know, 21, 22. Which is consistent with my other tests. Now we're at full battery, which is the best case scenario. So you're never gonna get more power and acceleration than you do when you're at 100% battery. It's all downhill after that. Let's turn around and go back the other way. And this time we will leave in level 5, we'll do pedal assist and we'll see what kind of speed we can get up to. Shift up the gears a bit here. We're already at 20. Oh, there we go. We hit 20, actually 29. All right. So we did hit all the way up to 29 miles per hour, but I was pedaling very fast. I had a very high cadence and I was pushing hard. I could still hear the motor going, but I felt like I was doing most of the work at that point. So you can get up to those, you know, those high speeds. If you're really pushing it, but it's going to be a workout for you, and something I would keep in mind if you're considering this bike and you want to ride at those really high speeds. This is probably not the best bike for it, and that's, I think I talked about this a little bit earlier on in the review, but that's just from the frame and mostly like the folding aspect. Okay, so it's a step through frame. We don't have a top bar, which means the frame isn't as strong. It can flex more, and then we've got fold joints here and here. And so once you get going that fast, getting close to 30 miles per hour, you feel a lot of like rattling and flexing. It doesn't feel super stable. So this isn't something that I would advocate pushing past 30 miles per hour on. Now, from a ride comfort perspective, aside from the saddle just not feeling great to sit on, the rest of this bike feels awesome. It's a very upright, relaxed seating position, and I don't even have the stem raised very high, but it's still like it's very comfortable seating and riding position. Like this feels nice. The suspension fork feels great. Having the fat tires adds a ton of comfort too from that high volume of air. And so with a more comfortable saddle, this is definitely one that you could spend a lot of hours cruising around. You do want to keep in mind the range of the bike, of course, if you are trying to do those longer rides. Now with this 720 watt hour capacity battery, I did a range test, kind of unofficial. I didn't take my camera or anything, but I was out on a group ride with friends, and this ran 100% out of battery at the 25 mile mark. And we were riding pretty aggressively, like, you know, up in level 5 pedal assist most of the time, doing some hills and inclines in the foothills near the mountains. So we were pushing it pretty hard, and you know, 0% at 25 miles. So just keep that in mind. That's kind of a worst case scenario range figure. If you're riding down in a lower level of pedal assist, maybe riding on more flat ground and not pushing as hard, then you could, you know, get maybe 30 or 40 miles out of it. Okay, my friends, that is a wrap for today's review of the Heybike Ranger S. Now, if you've got questions or comments about this review, you can chime in down in the comments section of this video. You can also look in the description for a link to the full written review. We have all the specs. We have a long written review. We've got a comment section there too where you can connect with other riders and, you know, share your opinion on this bike or on the Heybike brand. Thanks for tuning into the review. Ride safe out there. Catch you guys in the next video.